Ladies and gentlemen, there is a woman walking in this room right now who has no idea how powerful she is becoming. She's not loud. She's not trying to prove anything. She's not competing with anyone. But heaven knows her name. Hell fears her silence. And the earth is about to feel her weight. Because when God hides a woman's strength until her 40s, He's not delaying her. He's developing her. There is something mysterious, something divine about the way God prepares a woman beyond 40. You see, in your younger years, you were busy building image. But now you are birthing essence. And that is what makes you dangerous. Because God does not anoint noise, He anoints essence. And when a woman hits her 40s, something sacred begins to shift. She is no longer impressed by crowds. She is no longer intoxicated by compliments. She is no longer seduced by positions or applause. Why? Because now her eyes are on purpose. Her ears are tuned to eternity. And her steps are aligned with destiny. You thought those heartbreaks were failures, but they were filters. You thought that rejection meant you were unloved, but it was God's redirection. He was detaching you emotionally, spiritually, silently, because you cannot carry divine assignment while clinging to emotional entanglements. The strength God gives women over 40 is not strength you can see. It is strength you can sense. When she walks in the room, you feel a presence. That's not personality. That's not charisma. That's weight. That's glory. That's what happens when a woman has cried, prayed, waited, been broken, been healed, and now walks in truth. She's not driven by her emotions anymore. She governs them. She's not controlled by people's opinions anymore. She's rooted in God's truth. She doesn't run toward drama. She walks toward purpose. Because detachment is not a loss of love. It is the fullness of wisdom. And when you have seen enough, felt enough, lost enough, and healed enough, you learn to love without bondage, give without depletion, and walk away without apology. You see, in your 20s, your energy was public. In your 30s, your wounds were visible. But in your 40s, your power becomes private. It doesn't post everything. It doesn't explain anything. It doesn't beg for understanding because it is no longer looking for recognition. It's walking in revelation. That's why some people don't know how to access you anymore. You used to be available. Now you're aligned. You used to chase connections. Now you attract purpose. You used to need answers. Now you walk in peace. Because the woman over 40 is not surviving anymore. She's becoming. And when God blesses a woman with hidden strength after 40, it is because she can be trusted with silence. Trusted with solitude, trusted with secrets, and trusted with separation. Yes, separation. Because everything strong grows in secret. Everything mature grows in mystery. The woman over 40 doesn't announce, she becomes. Don't you understand? God allowed the disappointment so you could detach. He allowed the betrayal so you could discern. He allowed the waiting so you could develop. Not everything that left your life was a loss. Some were divine subtractions for your sacred elevation. That's why she doesn't react the same anymore. You call it distance. Heaven calls it discernment. You call it pride. But God calls it preparation. There's a woman who has stopped depending on people who cannot see her worth. She stopped explaining her peace to those who profit from her confusion. She stopped chasing closure from people who were only sent for a season. That woman has found her inner courtroom. and only God sits on the bench. That's hidden strength. God hides strength in seasons, not in youth. This is one of the most profound principles of divine development. In the early years, we are often full of energy, dreams, and ambitions, but very little wisdom. Youth is loud. It is expressive, impulsive, and emotionally driven. But God is not looking for movement. He is looking for maturity. When God calls a woman to a higher purpose, He does not rush the process. He hides her. He takes her through seasons of obscurity, through times where she feels overlooked, forgotten, underestimated. But what looks like delay is divine design. You see, strength that is exposed too early becomes pride. But strength that is developed in the dark becomes power. And that's why God hides it. The strength of a woman over 40 is not developed in a single moment. It is layered through decades of silent endurance, quiet obedience, and inner battles that no one sees. Every trial she thought would break her was actually shaping her. Every loss she thought was unfair was actually a lesson in disguise. God does not waste pain. He uses it to deepen your roots. In youth, there's a tendency to want to be seen. But in maturity, there is a grace to be hidden, because now she understands that true power does not come from being noticed, but from being known by God. When a woman passes through enough seasons, she stops trying to prove herself. She doesn't need to announce her worth. Her fruit speaks for her. Her silence becomes her shield. Her discernment becomes her direction. She's no longer chasing strength from the outside. She's walking in the strength that was cultivated on the inside. God waits to reveal this kind of strength until the time is right, because hidden strength is holy strength. Women over 40 are less driven by validation and more by vision. This is not a coincidence. It is the result of spiritual refinement. Validation is the craving for someone else to confirm what you have not yet accepted about yourself. In earlier years, many women search for approval from family, friends, relationships, even society. They are told who they should be, how they should look, what they should want. But when a woman crosses the threshold of 40, something within her begins to shift. She begins to value substance over style, purpose over popularity, and truth over applause. That shift is not born in comfort. It is born through trial. It is in the heartbreaks, the betrayals, the silent tears behind closed doors that she learns people are temporary, but purpose is eternal. What used to feed her now frustrates her. What used to entertain her now exhausts her. She no longer feels the need to be in every room, to be liked by everyone, or to be understood by those unwilling to grow. Her appetite changes because her soul has matured. When validation no longer holds power over her decisions, vision takes its place. She no longer asks, will they approve? She now asks, is this aligned with my assignment? She begins to walk differently, speak with clarity, and choose with conviction. The noise around her fades, but the voice within her gets louder, and that voice is no longer a whisper. It is a command, a call, a direction. She realizes her life is not a performance, it's a mission. And the applause she once chased is now irrelevant to the purpose she carries. Because once a woman tastes vision, real, divine, God-ordained vision, no man's opinion, no social label, no human validation can ever hold her again. Detachment is not indifference. It is divine discernment. Many misunderstand the spiritual power of detachment. They think it means apathy, coldness, or a lack of love. But in truth, detachment is one of the highest forms of spiritual maturity. It is not a rejection of people. It is a redirection of energy. When a woman detaches, it means she has stopped investing emotional energy into things that drain her spirit. She has discerned what no longer serves her purpose and has chosen alignment over attachment. This kind of discernment doesn't come overnight. It is the result of years of emotional giving, of overextending in places where there was no reciprocity. A woman over 40 begins to understand that peace is more valuable than approval. She learns to love deeply but without dependency. She learns to serve others but not at the expense of her soul. She learns to listen but not absorb. This is not emotional distance, it is spiritual wisdom. When God elevates a woman, he first teaches her what to release. That's why she begins to let go. Not out of bitterness, but out of clarity. Detachment allows her to see people as they are, not as she wishes them to be. It frees her from the emotional roller coasters that once kept her captive. It teaches her that closeness is not measured by proximity, but by purpose. And not everyone close to you is called to go with you. So when she detaches, she is not being rude. She is being refined. She is choosing to stay focused on her assignment. She is choosing to walk in wisdom rather than react in emotion. Because her strength is not in how much she holds on to, but in what she's finally willing to let go of for the sake of who she is becoming. The pain of the past becomes the preparation for power. Every wound, every tear, every disappointment a woman carries has the potential to transform her if she allows it to pass through the hands of God. Pain is never wasted in the kingdom. What breaks you in one season is what builds you in the next. And what looks like suffering is often the soil in which spiritual authority is planted. A woman over 40 has lived long enough to know that pain is not her enemy, it is her instructor. Pain teaches her what people cannot. It reveals who she is when everything else is stripped away. It shows her what she truly values, who truly values her, and what truly matters. And through that revelation, God begins the process of redefinition. He takes the very things that wounded her and turns them into weapons of wisdom. The betrayal that left her speechless becomes the story that strengthens her. The abandonment that once made her feel unworthy becomes the awakening that pushes her toward divine identity. In her earlier years, she may have resented the struggle, but now she sees that the struggle was sacred. It taught her endurance. It taught her discernment. It stripped away her illusions and revealed her essence. Now she doesn't just speak from opinion, she speaks from experience. Her authority doesn't come from theory, it comes from survival. She carries a strength not found in textbooks or titles, but in trenches and trials. When God prepares a woman for impact, he allows her to be pressed so that her oil can flow. And that oil, that anointing, is born from pain. Not surface level discomfort, but deep soul level breaking. And yet, that breaking becomes the birthplace of a power that cannot be shaken. Hidden strength is revealed in solitude. Solitude is not loneliness, it is divine separation. It is the place where God removes the noise so a woman can finally hear his voice clearly. When a woman is alone, stripped of distractions, disconnected from external affirmation, that is when her real strength begins to surface. Not the strength to perform, to impress, or to keep up appearances, but the strength to stand in truth. This is the kind of strength that does not need an audience, because it was born in the absence of applause. In solitude, a woman is confronted with herself. She faces her fears, her insecurities, her broken places. And in that sacred space, God begins to rebuild her. He replaces the lies she once believed with truth. He replaces the identity shaped by others with the one he ordained from the beginning. In that stillness, he gives her clarity. He reveals the weight of her assignment, the depth of her worth, and the authority of her voice. Solitude is God's sacred classroom. It is where he refines motives, sharpens vision, and breaks every chain of codependency. A woman who has learned to thrive in solitude is a woman who cannot be easily manipulated. She doesn't panic when people walk away. She doesn't crumble when she's misunderstood, because she has already made peace with being alone in the presence of God. Some of the strongest women on earth carry their power in silence. They've been alone long enough to know who they are. Their identity isn't tangled in relationships or roles. Their confidence doesn't come from titles or validation. It comes from knowing that even in isolation, they are still anointed, still chosen, and still equipped to fulfill a divine purpose that doesn't require permission from anyone else. The womb of waiting births divine resilience. Waiting is not a passive state. It is an active process of transformation. When God calls a woman to a higher purpose, he often hides her in seasons where nothing seems to be moving. Doors don't open, prayers feel unanswered, recognition is absent, but while it looks like delay on the outside, something powerful is happening within. Waiting becomes the womb where strength is formed in secret. It is the place where character is shaped, faith is tested, and endurance is built. In a world obsessed with speed, waiting feels like punishment. But in the kingdom of God, waiting is preparation. Every moment she spends in stillness is an opportunity for her to grow roots deep enough to carry the weight of her calling. While others may be rushing ahead, the woman in waiting is being refined. Her motives are purified. Her desires are sifted. Her focus is narrowed. And slowly, quietly, God begins to shift her from dependency on outcomes to dependency on him. Resilience is not the ability to move quickly. It is the strength to remain grounded when everything seems uncertain. It is the power to hold on to purpose when nothing around you validates it. And it is forged in the furnace of waiting. The woman who learns to wait without becoming bitter, without giving up, without compromising her values, she is the woman who emerges with authority. She no longer rushes decisions because she knows the value of timing. She no longer fears silence because she understands the power of God's hidden work. Her resilience is not loud, but unshakable. Because in her waiting, she met the God who strengthens her not through visibility, but through intimacy. And that intimacy becomes the foundation of a strength that endures all storms. True strength is not loud, it is rooted. The most powerful women do not always speak the most, nor do they demand attention. Their presence speaks before their words ever do. They carry a calmness that cannot be fabricated because it was formed in the fire of experience. Real strength does not seek to prove itself. It simply is. It is grounded, steady, and immovable because it has been tested and tried. A woman over 40 who has walked through loss, betrayal, reinvention, and recovery understands that power isn't in performance, it's in presence. This kind of rooted strength comes from identity, not image. It is not shaken by opinions because it is anchored in truth. When a woman knows who she is and who she is, she doesn't need to chase validation or react to every challenge. She can stand in silence and still speak volumes. She can walk away from chaos without losing her peace because her strength is not tied to her circumstances. It's grounded in her connection to God. You won't see her trying to outshine anyone. She's not in competition. She's in alignment. Her roots go deep. She has endured seasons of drought and storms without being uprooted. That's why she no longer needs noise to feel seen. She no longer needs to announce her worth. Her decisions, her peace, and her fruit do that for her. She has grown tired of surface-level strength that only looks good in public but crumbles in private. This woman has chosen the deeper path. She has been pruned, stretched, and tested, and yet she remains. Her power is in her stability, her value is in her consistency, and her strength is in her stillness. Because true strength doesn't demand to be heard. It commands respect. simply by standing firm in truth. Purpose strengthens what time matures. There is a divine difference between aging and maturing. Time alone does not produce strength. It is purpose that gives time its value. A woman over 40 has lived long enough to understand that experiences without meaning become burdens. But when those experiences are interpreted through the lens of purpose, they become the foundation of power. Her growth is not random. It is intentional. Every year added to her life has carved something deeper into her soul: clarity, conviction, and wisdom. She no longer measures her progress by the pace of others. She doesn't chase timelines set by society. Instead, she leans into divine timing, knowing that what God begins, He also sustains. Purpose makes her selective. Purpose makes her patient. Purpose makes her powerful. She no longer says yes out of guilt or fear of missing out. She says yes because it aligns with her calling. She is focused because purpose has refined her priorities. Her maturity isn't just mental, it's spiritual. She has lived through enough cycles to recognize patterns. She sees traps before they form. She discerns manipulation before it becomes words. That's not coincidence. That's maturity empowered by purpose. And because of that, her life becomes a message. Her decisions become intentional. Her presence becomes impactful. She no longer speaks just to fill silence. She speaks to release meaning. The woman over 40 who is anchored in purpose doesn't need motivation to show up. She moves because she knows her movement carries weight. Time has matured her, but purpose has focused her. Now every step she takes is strategic. Every relationship she allows is filtered. Every opportunity she accepts is aligned. And that alignment gives her a strength that is quiet, focused, and unstoppable. Spiritual detachment is the beginning of dominion. Dominion is not control over people, it is control over yourself. It is the ability to rule your emotions, govern your thoughts, and walk in authority without being swayed by external noise. A woman over 40 who has embraced spiritual detachment is no longer ruled by who stays or who leaves, by what is said or what is assumed. She has come into a realm of inner governance where her peace is protected, her time is sacred, and her energy is invested, not wasted. Detachment in the spirit is not emotional coldness. It is divine clarity. It means you can love people deeply, but not allow their chaos to disrupt your peace. It means you can serve without becoming enslaved. You can give without being depleted. You can walk away without carrying guilt. This is not pride, it is wisdom. It is the fruit of lessons learned through pain, silence, and disappointment. It is what happens when a woman has been broken enough to stop clinging and healed enough to start choosing. She does not over-explain anymore because dominion does not beg for understanding. She does not overextend anymore because dominion does not seek to be everything to everyone. She has discerned that not all access is holy and not all connection is covenant. Spiritual detachment has given her the ability to see beyond surface, to sense what is unseen, and to move only when heaven says, move. Now she rules her life not from ego, but from wisdom. She walks with God, and that walk has taught her to detach from anything that dims her light or delays her purpose. Dominion is not loud. It is not dramatic. It is quiet, confident authority born in the secret place, sustained through obedience and revealed through alignment with purpose. The over 40 woman stops chasing and starts becoming. Somewhere along the way, the need to run after people, opportunities, and approval fades. There is a holy stillness that replaces the old restlessness. She no longer needs to prove her worth because she now understands it. She no longer needs to perform for love because she has discovered that being deeply rooted in purpose is far more satisfying than being temporarily seen by people who do not understand her calling. The woman who once sought permission now walks with presence. She no longer asks, am I enough? Because she now declares, I am already equipped. She doesn't pursue relevance, she embodies significance. And this transition from chasing to becoming is not a small one. It is spiritual. It is the evidence of a woman who has surrendered the noise of her past to the truth of who God says she is. The world around her may still try to distract her with superficial standards, but she's no longer participating in that race. She's been freed from it. That she once chased, she now tracks. Peace, clarity, alignment. She's not desperate, she's discerning. She's not eager to be seen, she's committed to being sent. Every experience she's had, every disappointment she's endured, every delay she's walked through, it has all shaped her becoming. She's no longer building a life to impress. She's building a life that fulfills. She rises without comparison. She moves without noise. She builds without needing constant applause, because she finally realizes that the answer is not out there, it's already within. Becoming is no longer something she strives for, it's who she is. And the beauty of becoming is that it never ends. She keeps evolving, keeps growing, keeps aligning, not for recognition, but because becoming is her obedience to the one who called her. You see, when a woman reaches the season of 40 and beyond, she's not declining, she is ascending, she is not fading, she is awakening. God has not overlooked her, he has preserved. The strength within her is not newly given, it has been hidden, waiting for the appointed time to be revealed. The world may measure her value by age, but heaven measures her by depth, by obedience, by how much of herself she has surrendered for the sake of purpose. This is not the end of her story, it is the unveiling of who she was always meant to be. Her silence is strategy, her detachment is direction, her solitude is sacred, and her strength is unstoppable. She does not need to be seen to be significant. She does not need to be loud to be powerful. She does not need to be accepted to be anointed, because when a woman walks in divine strength, rooted in vision and refined through waiting, she becomes a force that no hell can shake and no man can define. She is not just older, she is wiser. She is not just experienced, she is entrusted. And in this season, God is not simply restoring her, he is revealing her. Let them wonder where she went. Let them question her silence, because when she returns, she will not come back the same. She will return crowned with wisdom, armed with discernment, and clothed in unstoppable grace. The wait was not a waste. The detachment was not loss. It was God preparing the unseen weapon for a visible assignment. And now she is ready